What would you do if just 60 minutes before you're supposed to say I do, you discover that the man you love and your maid of honor, your best friend since childhood, have been betraying you all along, and you're 5 months pregnant with his child? This is the story of a bride who turned her wedding day disaster into something no one saw coming. Before we dive in, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss our daily episodes of jaw-dropping true stories. When Olivia Matthews woke up on her wedding day, she thought she was living a fairy tale. At 32, she had a successful career as a pediatric nurse, was expecting her first child, and was about to marry James, her boyfriend of 3 years. With her best friend Vanessa by her side as maid of honor, and her beloved father ready to walk her down the aisle, everything seemed perfect. But as we're about to find out, appearances can be devastatingly deceiving. Olivia Matthews had always been the type of person who saw the best in others. Growing up without her mother, who passed away when she was just 12, she and her father Robert formed an unbreakable bond. Perhaps it was this loss that made Olivia value relationships so deeply, holding on to the people she loved with unwavering loyalty. I always told her she had a heart too big for this world, Robert would later tell family friends. She gives people chance after chance, believing in them when they don't even believe in themselves. This quality had served Olivia well in her career as a pediatric nurse, where her patients and their families adored her compassionate approach. But in her personal life, this same quality had left her vulnerable. The morning of June 12th began like any bride's dream. Olivia was staying in the bridal suite of the Grand Harborview Hotel, the same venue where the ceremony would take place in the Garden Pavilion at 2 p.m. Her father had spared no expense for his only daughter's wedding, especially after learning he would soon be a grandfather. To the bride cheered her 3 bridesmaids, her cousin Emma, college roommate Rachel, and of course Vanessa Porter, her best friend since 7th grade. Vanessa raised her orange juice in solidarity with the pregnant bride. "To my best friend, who's going to be the most beautiful bride and the most amazing mother, I'm so happy for you." If Olivia had been paying closer attention, she might have noticed how Vanessa's smile didn't quite reach her eyes, or how she checked her phone every few minutes with unusual anxiety. But Olivia was floating on a cloud of pre-wedding bliss and pregnancy hormones. Let's rewind 3 years to understand how Olivia and James first met. It was at a hospital fundraiser where James, a pharmaceutical sales representative, approached Olivia with his signature charm. "He had this way of making you feel like you were the only person in the room," Olivia would later recall. "When he focused those blue eyes on you and smiled, everything else just faded away." Their courtship had been a whirlwind. James was attentive, romantic, and seemed to tick every box. He sent flowers to her workplace, remembered small details she mentioned in passing, and charmed her father with his knowledge of vintage wines, Robert's one indulgence. What Olivia didn't see were the small red flags that occasionally surfaced, the unexplained late nights, the defensive reactions when she asked innocent questions about his whereabouts, how he subtly isolated her from male friends over time. These moments were quickly overshadowed by grand gestures and passionate reconciliations. 8 months ago, when Olivia discovered she was pregnant, she was terrified to tell James. They hadn't discussed children, and she wasn't sure where he stood. To her delight and relief, James proposed just days after she shared the news. "It's like the universe knew," he told her, as he slid the princess-cut diamond onto her finger. "I was already looking at rings. This just confirms you're the one I want to build a family with." What Olivia didn't know was that James had already been seeing someone else throughout their relationship, and that someone was much closer than she could have imagined. Back in the bridal suite, the hairstylist was putting the finishing touches on Olivia's elegant updo, while the makeup artist waited her turn. The room buzzed with activity, the photographer capturing candid moments, bridesmaids steaming out last-minute wrinkles in their sage green dresses, and Vanessa organizing the timeline with military precision. "I'm just going to check on the reception space," Vanessa announced, smoothing her silk robe, "and maybe see if I can spot a certain groom hiding somewhere he shouldn't be." She winked at Olivia. "Tell him he better not try to see me before the ceremony." Olivia laughed. "It's bad luck. If only bad luck were the worst thing waiting for her." 20 minutes later, as the makeup artist was applying Olivia's false lashes, a knock came at the door. Emma opened it to find a young waiter standing awkwardly in the hallway, clutching a silver tray with a folded note. "Delivery for the bride," he said, his voice unsteady. "From the groom." Emma took the note and brought it to Olivia, who beamed. "Probably telling me how he can't wait to see me walk down the aisle," she said, carefully opening it to avoid disturbing her still-setting makeup. But instead of romantic sentiments, she found a hastily scrawled message. "I think you should know what I just saw. Men's bathroom, 2nd floor. Your fiancé and maid of honor. I'm sorry. Michael, staff." Olivia read the note 3 times, her hands beginning to tremble. "What is it?" Rachel asked. noticing her friend's sudden change in demeanor. I need some air, Olivia managed, standing up so abruptly that the makeup artist had to step back. Keep getting ready. I'll be right back. But your makeup isn't, the artist began. 5 minutes, Olivia cut her off, already moving toward the door, the note crumpled in her fist. In the hallway, the waiter, Michael according to his name tag, was still lingering, concern evident on his young face. Is this some kind of joke? Olivia demanded, keeping her voice low. Michael shook his head, his expression grave. I wish it was, ma'am. I was delivering drinks to the groomsman's suite when I heard noises from the bathroom. The door wasn't fully closed. I saw them together, very together. I thought you deserved to know. Olivia felt like the floor was tilting beneath her. A part of her wanted to accuse this stranger of lying, of trying to ruin her perfect day. But the earnestness in his eyes stopped her. Show me, she whispered. Michael led her through a service corridor and up a back stairwell to avoid being seen by guests who were beginning to arrive. Olivia's heart pounded so loudly, she was sure it could be heard echoing in the stairwell. Her right hand instinctively went to her baby bump, as if to protect her unborn child from what she might discover. They emerged on the second floor, and Michael pointed silently to a door marked Men at the end of a deserted hallway. They're still in there, he whispered. I checked before coming to you. Olivia nodded, took a deep breath, and moved toward the bathroom door with surprising steadiness. As she got closer, she heard voices, familiar voices having a conversation that would shatter her world. The door was indeed cracked open slightly. Through it, she could see a slice of the bathroom interior reflected in the mirror, enough to make out Vanessa perched on the marble counter, her legs wrapped around James, who stood between them, his hands on her waist. How much longer do we have to keep this charade up? Vanessa was saying, running her fingers through James's hair. I'm tired of being the supportive best friend when I should be the one wearing that dress. James chuckled, his voice carrying that smooth confidence Olivia once found so attractive. Just a few more hours, babe. After the wedding, we'll stick to the plan. I'll play the devoted husband long enough to secure the business partnership with her father. Then in a year or so, we'll have our tragic falling out. Vanessa pouted. And I have to watch you marry her while pretending to be happy about it? Think of it as an acting challenge, James replied, leaning in to kiss her neck. Besides, you're getting something out of this too. Robert's connections are going to take your event planning business to the next level. I guess, Vanessa sighed, but it's getting harder watching her waddle around with your baby, thinking she's living some perfect life. James pulled back slightly, his expression hardening. That kid is just an unfortunate complication, but it actually works in our favor, makes the marriage look more necessary and the eventual divorce settlement more substantial. Vanessa laughed. How can she be so naive that she doesn't suspect anything about us at all? 3 years, and she never once caught on. Because she sees what she wants to see, James replied with a dismissive wave. Olivia's always been desperate for her own little family after her mom died. She's so pathetically grateful for any scrap of attention that she never questions anything too deeply. Olivia's hand flew to her mouth to stifle the gasp that threatened to escape. Her other hand pressed harder against her belly, as if she could somehow shield her baby from these horrible words. You also got her pregnant, Vanessa said, her voice tinged with venom. You really want to leave her broken, don't you? James's reply chilled Olivia to the bone. The pregnancy was the perfect excuse to fast-track the wedding. Robert practically threw his checkbook at me to do right by his little girl. As for leaving her broken, he shrugged. Collateral damage. She'll have the kid to focus on. She'll be fine. You're terrible, Vanessa said, but her tone was admiring rather than condemning. She pulled him closer. That's why I love you. Now give me a proper kiss before I have to go back and pretend to help the blushing bride. Olivia had seen and heard enough. She quickly pulled out her phone and began recording, capturing their embrace and continuing conversation about their scheme. Her hands were surprisingly steady as she documented the betrayal, making sure to get clear footage of their faces and incriminating words. After nearly a minute of recording, she quietly backed away from the door and returned to where Michael waited anxiously at the end of the hallway. Thank you, she said to the young waiter, her voice unnaturally calm. What's your full name? Michael Ramirez, he replied, clearly concerned by her eerie composure. Are you okay, ma'am? Olivia took a deep breath. No, Michael, I'm not okay, but I will be. She looked at her phone, now containing irrefutable evidence of her fiancé's betrayal. Do you know anything about the audio-visual setup for the ceremony? Michael nodded. Actually, yes. My cousin runs the AV for all the hotel events. He's setting up now. A slight, dangerous smile appeared on Olivia's face. I need a favor, a big one, and I promise you'll be compensated for your help. Anything, Michael said without hesitation. What they're doing to you isn't right. I need you to get this video to your cousin, Olivia explained, sending the clip to Michael's phone. But he can't play it until I give a specific signal during the ceremony. Can you arrange that? Michael nodded, determination in his eyes. Consider it done. As they worked out the details, Olivia's mind was racing. The initial shock was giving way to something else. A cold, clear anger, and a steely resolve. She wouldn't just cancel the wedding and slink away in shame. No, these two people who had conspired to use and discard her deserved something special. It's Vanessa, Olivia said, looking at her phone, wondering where I am. She squared her shoulders and smoothed her robe. Time to go back and give the performance of my life. As she walked back to the bridal suite, Olivia felt her baby give a strong kick, as if in solidarity. She placed her hand on her stomach and whispered, "Don't worry, little one. Mom's got this." When Olivia returned to the bridal suite, she was the picture of serene bride-to-be bliss. If anything, she seemed calmer than before she left. "There you are," Vanessa exclaimed, rushing over. "I was about to send out a search party. Everything okay?" Olivia smiled with remarkable composure. Never better. Just needed a moment to breathe and take it all in. Only her father, who had arrived during her absence, seemed to notice something different in his daughter's eyes. Robert Matthews had raised Olivia alone since she was 12, and he knew every subtle shift in her expressions. "Livy," he said quietly, using his pet name for her as he pulled her aside while the others bustled about. "Is something wrong?" For a brief moment, Olivia's carefully constructed facade wavered. She looked into her father's concerned face, the man who had been her rock through every challenge life had thrown at her, and felt a sudden urge to tell him everything. But the suite was too crowded, the ears too many, and her plan required secrecy. "Dad," she whispered, squeezing his hand. "Do you trust me?" Confusion crossed his features, but he nodded without hesitation. "With my life." "Then trust me now when I say everything's going to be fine. But I need you to follow my lead today, no matter what happens. Can you do that?" Robert studied his daughter's face. Though mystified, he saw the determination behind her eyes, the same look she'd had when she decided to become a nurse, despite his hopes she'd join his real estate development business. The same expression she wore when she announced her pregnancy and her intention to raise the child whether James stayed or not. "I've got your back, Livy. Always have, always will." She hugged him tightly, drawing strength from the embrace. Over his shoulder, she caught sight of Vanessa watching them with an impatient expression, checking her watch meaningfully. "Time for you to head down, Dad," Olivia said, pulling back. "The guys must be wondering where you are." As Robert left to join James and the groomsmen, Olivia returned to the makeup chair, allowing the artist to finish her work. She stared at her reflection, seeing herself through new eyes. In her mind, Olivia began to replay moments from the past 3 years, scenes she'd once interpreted as love and connection, now revealing themselves as manipulation and lies. The night James had been furious when he found her having drinks with a male coworker, claiming he was concerned about her safety, when really he was monitoring her friendships. The times Vanessa had subtly undermined Olivia's confidence, suggesting dress styles that weren't quite flattering, making backhanded compliments about her career choices, always positioning herself as the more sophisticated, desirable woman. How James always seemed to have an explanation for missed dates or strange texts, technology problems, work emergencies, family crises, that Olivia had accepted without question because she believed in giving people the benefit of the doubt. The way both of them had pushed for a lavish wedding, rather than the intimate ceremony Olivia had initially wanted. "You only get married once," Vanessa had insisted. "Let your dad show off a little." Now Olivia understood they'd been eyeing Robert's connections and resources all along. As these realizations washed over her, the makeup artist announced she was finished. Olivia blinked at her reflection. She looked flawless, radiant even, with a glow that everyone would attribute to bridal excitement and pregnancy, but was actually the fire of righteous anger burning beneath her skin. "It's time for the dress," Emma announced excitedly. The next 45 minutes passed in a blur of activity. Olivia stepped into the custom gown she had chosen months ago, an elegant A-line design that accommodated her growing baby bump while still capturing the romantic aesthetic she had dreamed of. The empire waist was adorned with delicate beading that caught the light with every movement, and the modified sweetheart neckline complemented her collarbone perfectly. As Rachel arranged the train and Emma secured the veil, Vanessa circled Olivia with a critical eye. "You look nice," she said with practiced hesitation. "The dress is doing the best it can with the bump situation." Olivia caught Rachel's slight frown at the backhanded compliment, but she herself just smiled. "Thank you for your honesty, Vanessa, as always." The double meaning was lost on Vanessa, who was already checking her phone again. "James just texted me. Kyle texted me about James," she quickly corrected, referencing one of the groomsmen. Everything's set on their end. The guests are seated. Perfect timing, Olivia said, picking up her bouquet of cream roses and baby's breath. I believe it's showtime. As they lined up for the processional, Olivia pulled Michael aside under the pretense of adjusting a decoration. Is everything set? She whispered. Michael nodded discreetly. My cousin Marco has the video ready on a separate input. When you cue us by saying, I'd like to share something special, he'll switch to it on the main screens. Thank you, Olivia said, genuinely grateful. You're saving more than just my day. Michael's expression was solemn. No one deserves what they were planning to do to you. Olivia squeezed his arm in gratitude before taking her position at the back of the procession. As the bridesmaids began their walk down the aisle one by one, she stood with her father, accepting his arm with a serene smile that revealed nothing of the storm within. Ready, Livy? Robert asked, patting her hand on his arm. Olivia took a deep breath and nodded. More ready than you can imagine, Dad. The wedding coordinator gave them their cue as the bridal march began to play. All the guests rose to their feet, cameras raised to capture the bride's entrance. At the altar, James stood with an appropriately adoring expression, the perfect picture of a happy groom about to marry the mother of his child. Only Olivia knew it was all a lie, and soon everyone else would too. With each step down the aisle, Olivia felt more certain of her plan. This wasn't just about revenge. It was about reclaiming her dignity, protecting her child from a father who saw it as a complication, and exposing the true character of two people who had betrayed her so completely. As she and her father reached the altar, Robert kissed her cheek and placed her hand in James's, a symbolic gesture of giving away the bride that had always struck Olivia as somewhat outdated but tradition-bound. Today it felt particularly ironic. You look beautiful, James whispered as he took her hands, his blue eyes, once so charming to her, now revealing the calculation behind them. And you look exactly like what you are, Olivia replied quietly, her smile never wavering. A flicker of confusion crossed James's face, but before he could respond, the officiant began the ceremony. Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to witness the union of James Alexander Porter and Olivia Grace Matthews in holy matrimony. As the ceremony progressed, Olivia maintained her composure, responding appropriately when required, smiling at the right moments. Anyone watching would see a radiant bride, perhaps a bit more intense than usual, but certainly happy on her wedding day. Inside, she was counting down the moments until everything would change. The garden pavilion of the Grand Harbor View Hotel was a vision straight out of a bridal magazine. White chairs adorned with sage green ribbons lined either side of the aisle, which was carpeted with cream rose petals. A floral arch framed the altar where Olivia and James now stood facing each other, the celebrant between them reciting traditional words about love, trust, and lifelong commitment. In the front row, Robert Matthews sat with a polite smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. Beside him was James's mother, dabbing at tears that seemed more performative than genuine, much like her son's current expression of devotion. Marriage is a sacred bond, the officiant continued, a promise made not just between two people, but before family, friends, and in many traditions, before God. It requires honesty, fidelity, and mutual respect. Each word felt like a dagger to Olivia as she thought about the conversation she had overheard. Her eyes drifted briefly to Vanessa, who stood in her maid of honor position, clutching her bouquet with a plastic smile that concealed her impatience for the charade to be over. Looking back at James, Olivia saw him in a way she never had before. The charming smile that had once made her heart flutter now seemed practiced and hollow. The way he kept glancing at the influential guests, her father's business associates primarily, revealed his true priorities. As the officiant spoke about the journey that had brought them to this day, Olivia's mind drifted to significant moments in their relationship, now viewed through a lens of painful clarity. Their first anniversary, when James had been mysteriously unavailable all day, showing up late in the evening with an extravagant gift and passionate apologies. She had forgiven him immediately, touched by his apparent remorse. Now she wondered if he had been with Vanessa that day, perhaps laughing about how easily placated Olivia would be. The weekend trip to meet James's family, when Vanessa had inexplicably shown up at the same resort, claiming a last-minute booking for a client event. The three of them had spent the day together, and Olivia had been pleased that her boyfriend and best friend got along so well. The memory now twisted in her stomach like a knife. The night she told James about the pregnancy, nervous about his reaction, his momentary flash of panic before smoothing his features into excitement. She had attributed it to normal shock, but now understood it was the recalculation of his timeline, the quick mental adjustment to leverage this new development. Most painful was the memory of crying on Vanessa's shoulder after a fight with James. confiding her deepest insecurities about whether she was enough for him. "Any man would be lucky to have you," Vanessa had assured her. "James knows that," all while sleeping with him behind her back. And now, the officiant's voice pulled Olivia from her thoughts. "Before we proceed to the vows, I understand the couple has prepared their own personal messages to share." This was the moment Olivia had been dreading and anticipating in equal measure. According to their planned ceremony, James would speak first, then Olivia, followed by the traditional vows and exchange of rings. James cleared his throat and produced a folded paper from his jacket pocket. His expression shifted to one of tender sincerity, so convincing that, for a moment, Olivia almost doubted what she had heard earlier. "Almost. Olivia," he began, his voice carrying clearly across the pavilion. "From the moment we met, I knew you were someone special. Your kindness, your compassion, the way you care so deeply for others, these qualities drew me to you and make me proud to become your husband today." Murmurs of appreciation rippled through the guests. Robert nodded approvingly, though his eyes remained watchful. "As we prepare to welcome our child into the world," James continued, placing a practiced hand on Olivia's baby bump for the benefit of the photographers, "I promise to be the husband and father that you both deserve, to build a life based on trust, respect, and unwavering devotion." The irony was almost too much to bear. Olivia maintained her smile, though it felt frozen on her face. "You are my best friend, my partner, and soon to be the mother of my child. I love you today and always." James folded the paper, looking pleased with himself as appreciative sounds came from the audience. He squeezed Olivia's hands, a gesture meant to look reassuring, but felt possessive. The officiant turned to Olivia, and now, Olivia would like to share her personal message to James. This was it, the point of no return. Olivia took a deep breath and caught Michael's eye where he stood discreetly near the back of the pavilion. He gave an almost imperceptible nod, confirming everything was in place. "James," Olivia began, her voice steady and clear. "When I woke up this morning, I had a very different speech prepared, one about love and trust and building a future together." James smiled encouragingly, completely unaware of what was coming. "But sometimes," Olivia continued, "life gives us unexpected revelations that change everything in an instant. Today I received such a revelation." A flicker of uncertainty crossed James's features. Beside them, Vanessa shifted uncomfortably. "Before I share what I learned," Olivia said, turning slightly to address the gathered guests, "I want to thank all of you for coming today to what you thought would be a celebration of love and commitment." Confused murmurs began to ripple through the crowd. James's smile was fading rapidly. "I'd like to share something special with all of you," Olivia said, speaking the agreed-upon cue clearly while looking directly at Michael. Within seconds, the decorative screens that had been showing gentle nature scenes and romantic quotes flickered and changed. Suddenly, the unmistakable images of James and Vanessa in the bathroom appeared, larger than life, their voices crystal clear in the pavilion's excellent sound system. "How much longer do we have to keep this charade up?" Vanessa's recorded voice echoed. "I'm tired of being the supportive best friend when I should be the one wearing that dress." Gasps erupted from the guests. James's face drained of color as he watched himself on screen. "Just a few more hours, babe. After the wedding, we'll stick to the plan. I'll play the devoted husband long enough to secure the business partnership with her father. Then in a year or so, we'll have our tragic falling out." Robert Matthews stood abruptly, his face contorted with rage as he watched the betrayal unfold on screen. Several of James's friends shifted uncomfortably, looking anywhere but at the groom, suggesting they might have known about the affair. The video continued, playing the most damning parts of the conversation, including James's callous remarks about the pregnancy being an unfortunate complication, and their plans to exploit Robert's business connections. Olivia stood perfectly still, her eyes never leaving James as his carefully constructed facade crumbled before everyone he had hoped to impress. When the video finally ended, the pavilion was filled with a stunned silence so complete you could hear the distant sound of waves from the harbor. Olivia turned to face her guests, her voice remarkably composed. "As you can see, I will not be marrying James today, or ever." She then turned to Vanessa, whose face had gone from shocked to defiant. "And I certainly won't be maintaining a friendship with someone who could betray me so completely." "Olivia," James finally found his voice reaching for her arm. "This is—" "Don't touch me," Olivia said, her tone glacial as she stepped back. "Don't speak to me. There is nothing you could possibly say that would undo what I just heard." Robert Matthews had made his way to the altar, positioning himself protectively beside his daughter. "I think you should leave, now." His voice left no room for argument. But James, seeing his carefully laid plans disintegrating, made one desperate attempt. "Olivia, think about the baby. We can talk about this privately. You're emotional because of the hormones." The slap echoed through the pavilion, surprising even Olivia as she felt the sting on her palm. James's head snapped to the side, a red mark blooming on his cheek. "Don't you dare," she hissed. "Don't you dare use my child as leverage or blame this on hormones. You lost the right to mention my baby when you called it an unfortunate complication." James's mother had risen now too, her expression mortified as she approached her son. "James Alexander Porter, I did not raise you to behave this way. This is disgraceful." She turned to Olivia with genuine remorse. "I'm so deeply sorry, my dear. So deeply sorry." Meanwhile, Vanessa had been trying to back away discreetly, but found her path blocked by Emma and Rachel, who stood with arms crossed, glaring at their former friend. "Going somewhere, Vanessa?" Emma asked coldly. "After all your hard work planning this wedding, you're going to miss the best part?" Vanessa's composure finally broke. "This is ridiculous. It's not like he ever really loved you anyway. You trapped him with that pregnancy." A collective gasp went up from the guests at this new cruelty. Olivia, however, remained remarkably calm. "Is that what he told you?" she asked, almost pitying. "Because according to what we all just heard, he's been using both of us. You're as much a pawn in his game as I was." Uncertainty flickered across Vanessa's face as the truth of this statement sank in. James, seeing his support crumbling from all sides, finally turned and stormed out of the pavilion, pushing past shocked guests without another word. Vanessa hesitated, clearly torn between following him and saving face. "This isn't over," she finally said, her voice breaking slightly before she too fled the scene. As the murmuring of the crowd grew louder, Olivia felt her father's arm around her shoulders, steadying her. The strength that had carried her through the confrontation began to waver as the reality of what had just happened hit her fully. "Dad," she whispered, her voice finally betraying a tremor. "I've got you, Livy," he said, holding her close. "I've got you both." For several long moments, the garden pavilion was a tableau of shocked faces and whispered exclamations. Olivia stood at the altar, her father's protective arm around her shoulders, as the guests tried to process the dramatic scene they had just witnessed. The officiant, clearly at a loss for how to proceed, quietly closed his ceremonial book and stepped back, giving Olivia and her father space. Emma and Rachel moved closer, forming a protective circle around their friend. "Ladies and gentlemen," Robert finally addressed the stunned crowd, his authoritative voice cutting through the murmurs. "As you can understand, the wedding will not be proceeding as planned. However," he looked down at Olivia with a questioning expression. Olivia straightened her shoulders and nodded slightly, finding her voice again. "However," she continued for her father, "you are all still invited to join us for the reception. The food has been paid for, the band is ready, and I see no reason why an unfortunate revelation should prevent us from enjoying a beautiful summer afternoon together." A ripple of surprised approval moved through the crowd. This was clearly not the reaction they had expected from a jilted bride. "Before we move to the reception area," Olivia added, her voice growing stronger, "I want to thank you all for being here. Your presence means more to me now than ever. Today has not turned out as I planned, but it has perhaps turned out as it needed to." She placed a hand gently on her baby bump. "My priority now is the well-being of my child and creating a life of honesty and genuine love. I hope you'll join me in celebrating that commitment instead." The pavilion erupted in supportive applause, led enthusiastically by Robert's business associates in the front row. Olivia caught sight of Michael, who gave her a discreet thumbs up from his position near the back. As the guests began to move toward the reception area, several stopped to offer Olivia words of support and admiration for her composure. James's mother approached again, her eyes red-rimmed with embarrassment and genuine sorrow. "Olivia, dear," she began, clearly struggling to find adequate words. "I don't know what to say except that I am mortified by my son's behavior. Please know that this is not how he was raised." Olivia took the older woman's trembling hands in her own. "Mrs. Porter, you have nothing to apologize for. James made his choices as an adult. I know you would have stopped him if you'd known." "The baby," Mrs. Porter said hesitantly. "That's still my grandchild. I hope someday." "We'll figure something out," Olivia assured her, surprising herself with the generosity of this response. "This child deserves all the love available to them." Mrs. Porter nodded gratefully before being led away by a sympathetic relative. As the pavilion cleared, Olivia finally allowed herself a moment of privacy with her innermost circle, her father, Emma, and Rachel. The four of them moved to a quiet corner of the garden, where Olivia finally sank onto a decorative bench, the enormity of the day's events catching up with her. "I can't believe you pulled that off," Emma said, sitting beside her and taking her hand. "You were magnificent." "Like a warrior queen," Rachel agreed, carefully adjusting Olivia's veil which had begun to slip. But how did you find out? And when did you have time to plan all this? Olivia explained about Michael's warning note and what she had witnessed in the bathroom just an hour before the ceremony was scheduled to begin. Robert's expression darkened as he heard the full extent of James and Vanessa's plans. I knew there was something off about that boy, he muttered. Too polished, too eager to discuss business opportunities. I should have trusted my instincts. We all missed it, Dad, Olivia said gently. They were very convincing. The important thing is that you caught them before it was too late, Emma pointed out. Before you were legally tied to that snake. A sudden commotion from the direction of the hotel made them all turn. James had reappeared, his tie askew and his face flushed with either embarrassment or alcohol, possibly both. He was being physically restrained by two of his groomsmen, while a third tried to reason with him. Let me talk to her, James was shouting. Olivia, this is all a misunderstanding. Robert started to move toward the confrontation, but Olivia placed a hand on his arm. I need to handle this myself, Dad. With remarkable dignity, Olivia walked toward James, stopping several feet away from where he was still struggling against his friend's restraint. The groomsman looked embarrassed and apologetic. We tried to get him to leave, one explained. He insisted on explaining himself. There's nothing to explain, Olivia said calmly, addressing James directly. I heard everything I needed to hear. James's expression shifted from anger to a calculated charm that once would have melted her resolve, but now just disgusted her. Baby, you took that conversation completely out of context. Vanessa was upset about something else entirely, and I was just playing along to calm her down. Stop, Olivia held up a hand. You're only making this worse for yourself. I heard you call our child an unfortunate complication. I heard you detail plans to use my father's business connections. There is no context that makes any of that acceptable. James's facade cracked slightly. What about the baby? You're going to raise it alone out of spite? No, Olivia replied evenly. I'm going to raise this child with love, surrounded by people who genuinely care about us, not people who see us as pawns in their game. You'll be hearing from my lawyer about support and visitation options, but that's the extent of our relationship moving forward. She turned to walk away, but James called after her, his voice taking on a nasty edge. You know Vanessa was right about one thing. You were always too trusting, too desperate for a family to replace the one you lost when your mom died. It made you an easy target. Olivia froze, the cruel words striking a vulnerable spot. Before she could respond, Robert stepped forward, his expression thunderous. That's enough, he said, his voice dangerously quiet. You've done enough damage today, son. I suggest you leave before I forget I'm a gentleman. The threat in his tone was unmistakable. James, finally reading the room correctly, allowed his friends to lead him away, muttering under his breath. As they disappeared around the corner of the building, Olivia let out a long, shaky breath. He's right about one thing, she admitted. I was too trusting. No, Rachel said firmly. Being trusting isn't a flaw, Liv. It's one of your best qualities. James and Vanessa are the ones with the problem, not you. And you're not alone, Emma added. You have us, you have your dad, and you have that little one. She gestured to Olivia's bump. That's a real family. Robert put his arm around his daughter again. Now, I believe we have a reception to attend, and while it may not be celebrating what we thought it would, I'd say we have even more reason to celebrate your strength and new beginning. Olivia nodded, drawing courage from their support. You're right. Let's not let a perfectly good party go to waste. As they turned toward the reception area, a flash of movement caught Olivia's eye. Vanessa stood partially hidden behind a decorative pillar, watching them with an expression that mingled anger and something that looked almost like regret. Go ahead, Olivia told the others. There's one more conversation I need to have. Her father hesitated. Are you sure? I'm sure, Olivia confirmed. I'll be right behind you. As the others reluctantly moved toward the reception, Olivia approached Vanessa, who straightened defensively, her mascara slightly smudged from angry tears. Come to gloat? Vanessa asked bitterly. You certainly put on quite a show in there. No, Olivia said quietly. I came to ask you one question. Why? Vanessa's practiced composure faltered. Why what? Why pretend to be my friend all these years? We've known each other since we were 12, Van. You were there when my mother died. You helped me through my first heartbreak, my nursing exams. Everything. Was it all fake, or just the last 3 years? The directness of the question seemed to catch Vanessa off guard. She looked away, unable to meet Olivia's steady gaze. It wasn't all fake, she finally admitted, her voice barely audible. In the beginning it was real, but then things changed. When I met James, Olivia stated rather than asked. Vanessa nodded reluctantly. I saw him first, at that hospital fundraiser. I pointed him out to you, remember? But he only had eyes for you. It's always been that way. You get chosen first. The scholarships, the job offers, the guys. So this was about jealousy? Olivia asked, incredulous. You betrayed 15 years of friendship because you were jealous? It became more than that, Vanessa insisted. James and I, we connect on a level you wouldn't understand. We're both ambitious. We both want more than this provincial life you're so content with. Olivia shook her head, a sad smile on her lips. And yet, here you are, hiding behind a pillar while he tries to talk his way back into my good graces. Did you know he came back to plead his case, not to find you? Vanessa's expression confirmed that she hadn't known, and the news hit her hard. He's just confused right now. Damage control. Maybe, Olivia conceded. Or maybe you're both exactly what you deserve. People who think love and loyalty are commodities to be traded for advantage. She began to turn away, then paused. I truly hope you find what you're looking for, Van, but I doubt it will make you happy. Where are you going? Vanessa called after her, a note of desperation creeping into her voice. Olivia glanced back over her shoulder. To celebrate with people who genuinely care about me. You're not invited. With those final words, Olivia walked away, feeling the weight of 15 years of friendship finally lift from her shoulders. It hurt, of course it did, but there was also an unexpected lightness. A sense of liberation from a relationship that had apparently been tainted for longer than she realized. As she approached the reception area, she could hear music playing and the sound of conversation and even laughter. Her father had obviously managed to shift the mood from awkward sympathy to genuine celebration. Before entering, Olivia paused to take one last look at her wedding dress, the gown she had chosen with such hope and excitement. It was still beautiful, still perfect, just not for the purpose she had originally intended. New beginnings, she whispered to herself and her unborn child. Then with her head held high, she walked into her reception, not as a new wife, but as a stronger, wiser woman, ready to write her own story on her own terms. The Grand Harbor View's elegant reception hall had been transformed from what should have been a traditional wedding celebration into something entirely different, but no less joyful. The Mr. and Mrs. signs and wedding-specific decorations had been discreetly removed by the quick-thinking hotel staff, leaving the beautiful floral arrangements, twinkling lights, and elegant table settings to create an atmosphere of simple celebration. When Olivia entered, the room briefly fell silent before erupting into supportive applause. She smiled, genuinely touched by the show of solidarity from guests who had every reason to feel awkward about the situation. Robert approached his daughter, offering his arm. I took the liberty of having the DJ announce a slight change to the program, he explained. No first dance, no cake-cutting ceremony, just good food, good music, and good company. Perfect, Olivia agreed, surveying the room. Many of James's friends and distant relatives had unsurprisingly chosen to leave, but the majority of the guests remained, creating a comfortable gathering of people who truly cared about her. There is one tradition I thought we might keep, though, Robert said with a gentle smile, if you'd do me the honor of a father-daughter dance. Tears welled in Olivia's eyes for the first time that day. Not tears of sadness or anger, but of profound gratitude for the one man who had never let her down. I'd love that, Dad. As the DJ announced the father-daughter dance, the guests formed a circle around the dance floor. The opening notes of Louis Armstrong's What a Wonderful World, the song Olivia and her father had selected months ago, filled the room. Robert led his daughter onto the floor with the same proud expression he would have worn had the day gone according to plan. As they began to dance, he spoke quietly, for her ears only. Your mother would have been so proud of you today, Livy. Olivia looked up at him in surprise. Even though my marriage fell apart before it began, especially because of that, Robert affirmed. Catherine never measured success by conventional milestones. She valued courage, integrity, and standing up for yourself. You displayed all of those qualities today. As they moved around the floor, Olivia caught glimpses of supportive faces, Emma and Rachel watching with misty eyes, her colleagues from the hospital giving encouraging smiles. Michael, who had been invited to join the celebration as a guest rather than staff, raising a glass in her direction. I'm going to be okay, aren't I? She asked, more to herself than to her father. More than okay, Robert assured her. You're going to be extraordinary, just as you've always been. And that little one, he glanced down at her baby bump, is lucky to have you as their mother. As the song ended, something unexpected happened. One by one, guests began to approach the dance floor. First Emma and Rachel, then Olivia's cousins, followed by colleagues and friends. Each person took a moment to dance with Olivia, offering words of encouragement, support, or simply sharing a moment of connection. It became an impromptu support line dance, a spontaneous tradition born in the moment that moved Olivia more deeply than any planned wedding ritual could have. Dr. Susan Chin, the chief of pediatrics at Olivia's hospital and a mentor she deeply respected, took her turn on the dance floor. "When you're ready to come back from maternity leave," she said as they swayed to the music, "there's a new program director position I think you'd be perfect for. More regular hours, better for a single mom." "I didn't know you were considering me for that," Olivia said, surprised. Dr. Chen smiled knowingly. "I've always seen your potential, Olivia. Sometimes life's detours lead us to better destinations than we originally planned." As the evening progressed, the atmosphere continued to transform. What could have been a day of humiliation and sorrow had instead become a celebration of authenticity and new beginnings. The dinner was served, toasts were made, tactfully reworked to celebrate Olivia's strength rather than a marriage, and even the wedding cake was repurposed, with the bride and groom toppers mysteriously lost and replaced with a simple floral arrangement. During a quiet moment, Olivia found Michael sitting at a table with some of the younger guests, looking slightly out of place but happy to be included. "I can never thank you enough," she told him sincerely, taking the seat beside him. "Most people would have looked the other way, not wanting to get involved." Michael shrugged, his expression earnest. "My mom raised me better than that. She always said that standing by while someone gets hurt makes you part of the problem." "Your mom sounds like a wise woman," Olivia smiled. "I hope I can teach my child the same values." "Speaking of your mom," Michael said, seeming slightly nervous, "she's actually the event coordinator at my cousin's wedding venue, Sunset Cove, about 20 miles north of here. When I told her what happened, she wanted me to give you this." He handed Olivia a business card with a handwritten note on the back. "When you're ready to try again, with a worthy person next time, your venue fee is on us. Everyone deserves a second chance at happiness. Gloria Ramirez." Olivia was touched by the gesture from a complete stranger. "Please thank her for me, though I think marriage might be off my priority list for a while." "Understandable," Michael agreed with a smile. "But the offer stands. And, if you ever need a friendly face or someone to talk to who isn't directly involved in all this," he gestured vaguely around the room, "I'm a pretty good listener." There was no pressure in his offer, just genuine kindness, and Olivia appreciated it for exactly what it was, a simple extension of friendship with no hidden agenda. "I might take you up on that," she said, surprising herself with the realization that she meant it. As the evening began to wind down, Emma approached with Olivia's phone. "You've got about 50 text messages and missed calls," she reported. "I've been filtering them for you. Most are from people who've heard rumors about what happened and are checking on you." "Any from James or Vanessa?" Olivia asked, not entirely sure why she was asking. Emma nodded grimly. "James sent a rambling explanation that's mostly about how you're overreacting. Vanessa sent one that's half apology, half justification. I can delete them both if you want." Olivia considered this for a moment, then shook her head. "No, I'll read them later. Not because I'm considering forgiveness, but because I need to see their true colors clearly to remind myself I made the right decision." Speaking of decisions, Rachel joined them, holding a small gift bag. "We were supposed to give you this at your bachelorette party, but it got delayed in shipping and arrived yesterday. Given today's events, it seems even more appropriate now." Curious, Olivia opened the bag and pulled out a small wooden plaque with an inscription. "The best day of your life is the one on which you decide your life is your own. No apologies or excuses. The gift is yours. It is an amazing journey, and you alone are responsible for the quality of it." Tears welled in Olivia's eyes as she read the words. "It's perfect," she whispered. "Absolutely perfect." As the night drew to a close, many guests had departed, leaving just the core group of Olivia's closest supporters. They gathered on the hotel's terrace overlooking the harbor, where the sunset painted the sky in breathtaking shades of pink and gold. Robert raised his glass of champagne, while Olivia lifted her sparkling water in response. "To unexpected endings and brave new beginnings," he toasted. "And to truth," Olivia added, "painful as it sometimes is." As they clinked glasses, Olivia felt her baby kick vigorously, as if joining in the toast. She placed her hand on her stomach, a gesture of connection that had taken on new meaning after today's events. "What are you going to do now?" Emma asked gently. "Will you still go on the honeymoon?" Olivia had completely forgotten about the 2-week trip to the Mediterranean that had been planned. "I hadn't even thought about it," she admitted. "It's all paid for." "So go," Rachel encouraged. "Convert it to a baby moon instead. You deserve that time to yourself before the little one arrives." "Actually," Olivia said slowly, an idea forming, "I might have a better plan." Olivia stood on the porch of a charming coastal cottage, her baby bump now much more pronounced at 8 months. The autumn breeze carried the scent of salt water and pine as she looked out over the small but perfect garden leading down to a private stretch of beach. The sound of a car in the driveway made her turn as her father arrived, carrying grocery bags. Behind him, Emma and Rachel emerged from their own car, loaded with more supplies and overnight bags. "The place looks amazing," Robert said, taking in the newly painted trim and landscaped yard. You've done wonders with it in such a short time. Olivia smiled, running her hand along the porch railing she had sanded and restored herself. It's coming along, still plenty to do before the baby arrives, but the nursery is ready, and that's what matters. Using the honeymoon refund and some of her savings, Olivia had purchased this small cottage about an hour from the city, close enough to commute to her new position as program director at the hospital, but far enough to feel like a fresh start. "How's the name decision coming?" Emma asked as they carried the supplies inside. "I'm getting closer," Olivia laughed, still deciding between honor my mother with Catherine or going with something completely new to represent this fresh chapter. As they settled on the porch with drinks to watch the sunset, Rachel raised her glass. "Here's to the housewarming and baby welcoming committee, ready for deployment when the little one makes their appearance." "I couldn't have gotten through these months without you all," Olivia said sincerely, looking at each of her supporters. "The divorce proceedings, the custody arrangements, setting up this place, you've been my rocks." "Any word from the former dynamic duo?" Emma asked cautiously. Olivia shook her head. "James signed the divorce papers without contest once his mother got involved. I think she made it clear she'd cut him off completely if he didn't do right by the baby at minimum. He's agreed to child support but minimal involvement, which is honestly a relief." "And Vanessa?" Rachel asked. "Last I heard, her event planning business lost several major clients after our wedding video somehow leaked online." Olivia looked pointedly at Emma, who maintained an innocent expression, despite being the suspected source of the leak. "She moved to Chicago to restart. We'll probably never cross paths again." Robert reached over to squeeze his daughter's hand. "I'm so proud of how you've handled all of this, Livy. Most people would have crumbled under the pressure." Olivia smiled, looking out at the horizon where the sun was beginning to set. "I had moments where I wanted to, but then I remembered I'm not just making decisions for myself anymore." She cradled her belly protectively. "Besides, there's something liberating about having your worst fear happen and realizing it wasn't actually the end of the world." As the golden light bathed the porch, Olivia felt her baby move, a now familiar sensation that filled her with purpose and joy. The path ahead wasn't the one she had planned, but it was authentically hers. No compromises, no deceptions, just honest possibilities stretching out like the ocean before her. "I think I've decided on a name," she said suddenly, the certainty washing over her as clear as the evening light. "Hope, because that's what I found when I thought all was lost." The name hung in the air like a promise, a perfect encapsulation of a journey that had begun with betrayal, but transformed into something far more valuable, the discovery of her own strength and the realization that sometimes the most beautiful beginnings come disguised as endings. If you enjoyed this true story, please give it a thumbs up and leave a comment below sharing your thoughts. Have you ever experienced a betrayal that ultimately led to something better? Or do you know someone who showed incredible strength like Olivia did? Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss our new stories of resilience, courage, and unexpected transformations. And if you know someone who needs to hear a story about finding strength in difficult moments, please share this video with them. Until next time, stay strong, stay